There's a part that's not chiseled in the granite. You know what it says? I'm paraphrasing. If the events of recent weeks couldn't even say Yuri Gagarin, if the events of recent weeks are any indication of the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere, then we need to show the world the path of freedom over the path of tyranny. That was the battle cry against communism, and that's what wrote the checks in Congress.
Right, but you're missing.
Oh my God. Hey guys, how much longer holy shit. Like he just broke that down literally like a science in this idiot. I don't even know what he's gonna say. I don't even know what this guy is going to say, but he's going to say the dumbest shit ever, guys. Trust me, he is, okay? All right, so we're about to get into this Neil deGrasse Tyson versus Piers Morgan, which I only seen like 4 minutes of it, and I was like, you know what? I want to react to this entire video because I know it's going to be some bullshit to go down. And, you know, I don't want to try to nitpick. Like, I think this entire conversation is going to be pretty amazing. And hopefully we learn something out of it, because that's what happens when you listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson, someone who kind of knows some things and not just a random person on the internet like myself. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video, because this is 47 minutes. But damn it, I think it's going to be worth it. So go ahead, kick back, you know what I'm saying, get some popcorn, get some diet soda, because diet soda is a little bit more healthier for you. And let's enjoy this.
By Professor Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil, great to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Good to see you again.
You just don't get it, says Elon Musk. Your response?
Well, first of all, I'm not a fan of commenting on what other people commented about what was commented upon. that's just fuel for clickbait on social media.
And hopefully I don't do that. If I clickbaited a little too much, I apologize. But, you know, I do want people to hear what I have to say. But okay, whatever, gotcha.
So rather than just respond to what people responded, let me just say I've read extensively about the history of big, expensive projects in our species, going from the pyramids to the Great Wall of China to the Manhattan Project. And you go down that list, and the greatest of them, the biggest of them, the most expensive of them, related to the survival of who participated in it. They felt threatened. And so, sorry, the pyramids was not that. That was praise of royalty or deity. That's another big driver that existed in the history of our species. Much less of that happens today, and most of it is driven by the "I don't want to die" gene. And so we went to the moon. We felt threatened by the Russians, the godless commies, you know, around the world. And so these are the motivations that enable people to write checks. And at any time, people said, "Let's do it because it's the natural next thing to do." It just never happens. If you go back to the Apollo era, while we were going to the moon, people forgetting that we went there as a militaristic statement, people who forgot that said, "Oh, we're on the moon by 1969. We'll be on Mars by 1985." They were just extending a timeline that they thought was a natural, inevitable thing. And nothing that's expensive is ever inevitable. So that's the foundations of my comment. And in terms of going to Mars as a survival plan, if you think about what could put life at risk here on Earth, that could include, you know, global, very serious pandemic, or asteroid strikes, or we trash the climate, whatever. To think of Mars as Earth 2.0 could only really happen after you terraform Mars. And the point I made, which was not in your clip, was if you have the power of geoengineering to terraform Mars, then you have the power of geoengineering to fix Earth and turn Earth back into Earth.
So once again, just hearing that, and this is not my first time me hearing him say that, because I'm subscribed to his channel. I might become a Patreon, because just the things he has to say when it comes to things we constantly talk about is just amazing. And just like he said, if Elon Musk, the billionaire, the richest person here on Earth, can somehow transform Mars into a livable place for human beings, then why can't he do that here? I mean, we're already here, so like that saves billions of trillions of dollars, you know? So like just fix the planet that God has blessed us with. I don't know. But once again, like people like Elon Musk don't think that far. They just think of the here and now and what benefits them. They don't care about the science and the practicality and just common sense of things. Like, hey, fix the earth you're on. Because what are you going to do? You're going to go to Mars, live there for a couple of centuries and decades and then trash that place. Because you guys don't even believe in the science here on Earth. So how are you going to believe in the science on another planet? Once again, simple old me on the internet. If you met me for the first time here, hey, how you doing? I'm not a genius. I'm not a scientist. And I just figured that out. But for some reason, the billionaire, the genius, doesn't understand that. Okay, got you.
As opposed to Mars back into Earth. So just realistically, shipping 1 billion people to Mars, or however many, by the way, I have nothing against that. I just don't see it happening based on my read of human behavior.
So a lot to unpack there. Look, I've got massive respect for you. I also have a lot of respect for Musk. I also like the fact that he dares to dream very big. And I actually had the honor, actually, I would describe it, of spending a couple of hours with him down in France in the summer, where we got into the colonization of Mars and why he felt so passionately about it. And he said a few things. One, he said, we have to do this because at some stage, planet Earth is just not going to be a viable place anymore, was his belief. Secondly, that inevitably at some stage...
Hold on. Hey, rewind this and just... No, I'll do it for you. Check out the smirk. Okay, once again, you're talking to an astrophysicist. Okay, a word that I have to try hard to pronounce correctly, okay? Piers Morgan, you're just an anchor that can easily be replaced. So once again, just remember who's talking to who here and just look at the smirk on his face.
Place anymore was his belief. Secondly, that inevitably at some stage, planet Earth will be incinerated by the sun anyway. We don't know when that'll happen, but one day it will happen. I'll get your response to that.
We do know when it'll happen, but yeah.
When will it happen on that point?
Oh, yeah, let me check my calendar. No, the sun will
do we have any idea when that may happen?
Yeah, the sun will transition into a red giant phase, assuming it behaves like every other star just like it. And as it does, its outer shell will expand, and the surface of the sun will get closer and closer to Earth, and it will evaporate. Our oceans will come to a rolling boil and evaporate into the atmosphere. The atmosphere will evaporate into space, and Earth will be a charred ember that will get swallowed
Why
by the sun.
Why are you laughing,
and Mars,
Neil? This is not funny.
You're
painting a picture of utter extinction and apocalypse. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, that's it. No, because it's not that it's funny. It's that it's in 5 billion years.
Right.
So we have a whole lot of other sort of prioritized things we should be thinking about.
So you're telling me you guys don't care about climate change here and now, but you're worried about something that, give or take 1 billion year or two, but 5 billion years from now, that's what we want to. 5 billion, not million, billion years. And like I say, let's just say Neil deGrasse is off by 2 billion, 3 billion. Hey, we'll just give him a whole 4 billion years he's off. You want to complain and spend taxpayers' money on something that might have been 1 billion years from now. There you go, guys.
Between now and then.
But on the principle,
by then we might have colonized other star systems.
Right. So
that'd be fine.
Here's the thing about Mars, though. He said, look, if we're going to do this, and he believes passionately we need to do this as a kind of backup, really, for the survival of the human species. He said you have to replicate exactly the conditions of Earth. And he said, for example, if you forget about one vitamin, everyone would die up there, right? So everything has to be replicated in a way that you can replicate exactly what happens here on Mars. From an astrophysicist point of view, is that actually technically possible? Is there any reason why we couldn't colonize Mars from just a pure technical point of view of recreating the conditions in which human existence exists here?
Yeah, so just let me unpack that, what you said. So, first of all, at the core of this, other than living in habitat modules, either underground or just, wherever, that have to be heated because Mars is very cold, and Mars has barely any atmosphere, so you have to pump that in as well. Short of that, Elon has great ambitions of terraforming Mars. I love it. I once stole a coffee mug from SpaceX that had Mars on it, and I kept it on my shelf for a very long time. I don't drink coffee much, but I enjoy space-themed coffee mugs. And then one day I said, I'm going to have a hot chocolate. And so I put hot chocolate in there, which heated the mug. And while the mug heated, Mars terraformed into Earth. So I said, that's a classy move right there, Mr. Musk. So and I didn't know that for like a year because I don't use them. I just collect them. But my point is that if you want to ship humans from Earth to Mars, Mars needs to kind of look like Earth. And by the way, it's tantalizingly close in properties relative to other planets. Venus is 900 degrees Fahrenheit. You're not going there. But Mars is tipped on its axis. It has seasons. It has a approximately 24-hour day. It has polar ice caps, as we currently do. And so it's been the object of people's fascination for hundreds of years. So I don't have a problem with any of that. I'm just describing the practicality of it. And if you have the technology and the power to terraform Mars and ship people there, you probably have the ability to bat asteroids out of the way that might have been headed towards Earth. So I'm just speaking in practical terms. I'm not trying to stop anybody from dreaming. I love dreaming beyond horizons.
Well, that's the point I was going to make to you.
Ever got done.
Because I was watching the Bill Maher show live, actually, and that was the thing that struck me was, here's Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of the great dreamers, right? I mean, you literally have dreamed big your entire life. This is your raison d'etre, is to think the biggest things imaginable, right? And there you were, it appeared in the moment to be kind of pouring a bit of cold water on probably the...
And this is what bugs me about Piers. Like, he can't engage with a conversation. Like, I thought of like 2-3 questions to ask him, like, in that moment. But he's basically saying, but you hurt my boy's feelings. You hurt my boy, because he's a billionaire. Not that I really like him, because I'm pretty sure his personality is as dry as a desert. But he's my boy, though. And you hurt his feelings. So, like, bro, you got to answer to that. He just broke that down to you scientifically, but into a way you can understand. He's like, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about why you hurt his feelings. Piers, man, hey, whoever's running that show, give me a call, because I guarantee I would do a million times better of a job than this clown. He just argumentative for no reason. At least have a reason better than you hurt my boy's feelings. So can you answer to that? Bro, get out of here. Get yourself a tie. Come on.
Biggest thinker on the planet right now, and his massive biggest dream. And that was the only thing I thought, well, the next time I talk to you, I'm just, whether you were aware that was the way you were coming over.
I'm just trying to be real. I mean, I'm in my old age, I've just seen how people behave. I see how things get funded. Now, of course, Elon plus one or two other, that's all it would take, one or two other very wealthy people in the world could, if they wanted, as basically a vanity project, send astronauts to Mars. But if you want to think of the return on that investment, SpaceX is a corporation, all right? It's not just some private venture. He's getting money and contracts, and he's paying salaries, and I presume there's a board helping him make decisions about that. And so in the real world, there's certain things that are more likely to happen than others.
But if you but let me push you on that. Let me challenge you on that. So let's go back to the start of the 20th century, okay? When there would have been people around who were saying, you know what, let's go to the moon. And people would have dismissed them and said, don't be so ridiculous. It's massively, prohibitively expensive. We don't really have the technology to do this, blah, 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 blah. It was only really the power of people's dreams. Now, ultimately, you're right. There was a military context to why we did it. The West.
I literally was about to do that. Like, hey, Piers, that's the whole foundation of what sent dudes to the moon. Not because of a dream. You think America cares about dreams? Hey, I got plenty of dreams. Do you see America just catering to every one of my needs? No. Piers, I know you're not from America, but damn, man, you live here on Earth, right? Or you live in Mars with Musk at this point? Because I don't know. I can't tell. Because you are talking as if you're someone who doesn't understand people in politics, in war, and how that can fear people into doing some crazy things or amazing things. Piers, do better, bro. Come. Hey. That might be the thumbnail. I don't
wanted to beat Russia up there. I get that. I get that. But at the same time, I remember the great speeches by Kennedy, about all this, and it was exciting. It was thrilling. The world watched as Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, and those dreams that were dismissed at the early part of the century actually came true. They happened. Could it be that you're just? I hesitate to say this, Neil. But could it be you're just, you're one of the doomsayers of the earlier 20th century saying we should never go to the moon because it's too expensive, it can't happen, blah, 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 which they must have been saying at the time.
I am way more deeply informed than your previous sentence implies. So,
Yo, Piers, hey, Neil, give me a call, bro. Give me a call. I will go hit up Piers myself. Trust me. Because what he just said or implied was disrespectful. And I don't even know you personally, bro. But if you can get my number, I'm pretty sure you can. Okay? Let me know. Because that was disrespectful and I hit him up myself. Simple. Say no more, say no less. Just give me a call, hang up. I already know what to do. Come on.
Couple of things. Going up to the launch of Sputnik, most naysayers about the moon had no confidence that we would ever accomplish such a feat. And they didn't have an understanding of the progress of science and technology and engineering and political will, geopolitical will. So that was not in the equation of how they were thinking about their future. And so now when Sputnik got launched, what happened? Oh my gosh, space was pierced. And if it's pierced, that means we can do anything in space. And beginning in the early 1960s, the predictions about the future flipped. And it wasn't, oh, we'll never do it. They'll say, we'll do it all. And that's why we'll have colonies on Mars. Do you know Wernher von Braun was even quoted as saying, by the year 2000, we'll have the first human born on a moon colony. So highly ambitious statements, but why didn't any of that happen? Because we didn't go to the moon because it was because it's in our DNA, or it's no, we went because we were scared. And the speech you remember from John Kennedy, where he says, we'll put a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth, that's a stirring speech. And the hair rises up on the back of your neck. You can hear him in his Brookline, Massachusetts accent reciting this. But that's not what wrote the checks. That same speech, May 25th, 1961, to a joint session of Congress, 6 weeks after Yuri Gagarin had come out of orbit, 6 weeks, wouldn't utter the man's name. Before that, part of the speech that we all remember and that's chiseled in the granite at Kennedy Space Center, there's a part that's not chiseled in the granite. You know what it says? I'm paraphrasing. If the events of recent weeks couldn't even say Yuri Gagarin, if the events of recent weeks are any indication of the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere, then we need to show the world the path of freedom over the path of tyranny. That was the battle cry against communism, and that's what wrote the checks in Congress.
Robbie, you're missing.
God. Oh my God. Hey, guys. How much longer holy shit. Like, I can't. He just broke that down literally like a science in this idiot. I don't even know what he's going to say. I don't even know what this guy is going to say, but he's going to say the dumbest shit ever, guys. Trust me, he is, okay? What? Why? Who is paying this idiot? Well, that's why they're paying him, because he's a straight idiot. Straight clown, okay.
Years
Neil.
after we landed on the moon.
Okay, but let me challenge you on that. Again, I just think you're missing one very, very important factor in this. Musk is not only the richest man in the history of planet Earth, and going to get exponentially richer, by the way. He's already made 100 billion since Trump was elected, just from Tesla stock, right? But also, he talked me through the Optimus humanoid robots, and he said everyone's going to have one. They're 20 grand a pop, and he said my wealth at the moment will be completely dwarfed. I suspect he's right. I'm going to buy about 5 myself and get them to do all my chores. So he's got all this stuff going on, right? God. So he's going to be staggeringly rich, and he's got access to other staggeringly rich people. So the money part of it, coupled with his ambition, which is enormous, because I've heard him articulate it in person. It was incredibly inspiring and impressive. But he's also an engineer.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, this is not just some...
He's an engineer. The guy who built that ugly Tesla truck that's supposed to be bulletproof, that's supposed to have like shatterless proof glass, but can't do a single thing of that. The one that if the water rises too much or water gets spilled in the trunk, it breaks down. I seen the videos. You're talking about that engineer. Hey, what the fuck is going on with people? Money doesn't equal smarts. Money doesn't equal knowledge. Money just equals money. Like, what are you? You're literally talking to an and you got the nerve to say, hey, Elon, he didn't even build the cars if we really want to get into it, but Elon, he sells Teslas. Like he capitalized off of capitalism here in America, and now he's God. Like, bro, shut up, bro. Come on.
Rich guy playing with a few toys. Musk from the age of like 10 has been doing data code writing and so on. He's a proper engineer to his bootstraps. And to me, it's the combination of a big dreamer who's a very brilliant engineer plus the money to do this stuff makes me think, well, why couldn't he do it? Why can't he be the guy that does this?
I thought I was clearer than I guess I was. I'm not saying he can't do it. If he does it, it's not a business project. It's a vanity project. Vanity, I don't mean that in a critical sense. I'm saying he'll do it because he has the money, but there's no business case for going to Mars. And if it's not a business case, the history of that kind of exercise tells us that it's not a sustainable activity if he's running a business. But if he does it because, and by the way, we have an SUV-sized rover on Mars right now that brought a helicopter with it. Right. So I'm not here to say we can't go to Mars or don't know how to go to Mars or can't figure it out. No, that's not where I'm coming from here. I'm just being real. I'm just trying to get real. And so yeah, he could do it. The question is why? Because he wants to. And if you're rich enough and you have that kind of background and visionary, yes, he'll do it. But what I said on Bill Maher, which was not in the clip that you said, what I can imagine happening is we feel geopolitically threatened by whatever forces out there, and we say, it's like the space race all over again. We got to put astronauts on Mars. And NASA says, oh my gosh, we don't have a spaceship. Let's look around. And Elon says, I have a spaceship, okay? And so then the United States pays Elon to ride his spaceship to Mars. I can see that happening geopolitically.
If he's watching this interview, what's your message to Elon?
I don't have a message. Listen, it's because of Elon that anyone has a daily conversation about electric cars, all right? He's a force of nature, force of culture on modern civilization. And I know the guy. It's not like we're like sworn enemies or anything. But, we've corresponded. We're actually friendly. I'm just saying that, something else that got dusted up was I commented that what he's done in space had already been done by NASA, which is normal when private enterprise comes in after expensive geopolitically inspired steps are done by countries. After Columbus went to the New World, It was only after that did the Dutch East India Trading Company figure out, oh, maybe we can make a buck off of this. Once the geopolitical forces established where the friendlies were, where the trade winds are, what products you might be able to exploit. And so it's normal for a corporation, for expensive projects, to come in after the government does it. For things that are not so expensive, yeah, corporations do it. They have an R&D budget and they take it to the bank. No problem. But if you're going to do something that no one has ever done before and it costs $1 trillion, if you can pull it off, go for it. My read of history says it needs different drivers.
Okay.
But I wrote a whole book on this. Okay, there's a whole other book I wrote called, well, I got to tell you, the original title of the book was Failure to Launch: The Dreams and Delusions of Space Enthusiasts. And I handed that to the publisher. We can't have the word failure in the title. And so it has a different, softer, toothless title, which was Space Chronicles: Facing the Ultimate Frontier. And that's my entire analysis of why we ever did anything in space.
So you're talking to a man that, my favorite TV show when I was a kid was Star Trek, the original great TV version with Captain Kirk and Spock. With the original cast. And of course, their mantra was to boldly go where no man has gone before. And I want us to keep doing that. I want to just segue from that. You've been interesting about some of, the sort of Trump landscape we're heading to has a number of things which enter your wheelhouse. One of which Scientific America said, for example, about the appointment of RFK Jr. Trump has promised he would allow Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to go wild on medicines, food, and health. With that, a radical anti-establishment medical movement with roots in past centuries could threaten the achievements of a science-based public health order painstakingly built since World War II. Do you agree with their categorization of the way this could go?
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball of how actual politics unfolds. What I do know is that in the U.S. government, no matter what people say at the top, what matters is how money gets allocated in the federal budget. And you can say, oh, I hate science, or science is this or that, but if the money goes to the agencies, then the career scientists who work for those agencies will do their job. And by the way, leaders come and go. Heads of agencies, especially if they're presidential appointees, come and go. The scientists are there for their careers. And so in the end, the scientists...
Hey, I hope you guys got that. I hope you guys understand what he just dropped in your lap for free, okay? He literally said, hey, these politicians will come and go. But when it comes to the science and the individuals that base their entire life, adult life, into a particular subject, they're there for a reason. This is their career for a reason. So maybe we should listen more to the scientists than like some dumbass politician like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, come on. You know, am I going to listen to a scientist or RFK Jr. who doesn't believe in science? So like, once again, this is a weird conversation to have with someone as smart and bright and amazing like Neil deGrasse Tyson. But okay, it's your show, Piers. Go for it.
We'll do what scientists must do. And I have full confidence that we will not lose the mission statement of these very important scientific institutions. By the way, just a quick bit of history. Abraham Lincoln in 1863, when he clearly had other things he needed to be worrying about, signed into existence the National Academy of Science, having seen in Europe the role of science in shaping their future of their economy, of their culture, of their civilization. And so this was set up as an independent agency with scientists choosing other scientists in their community to participate, to independently advise the executive branch and the House and the Senate on policies that relate to the country. And so I have the confidence that that kind of mission statement will prevail.
Somebody like RFK,
as it has in the past.
Right, someone like RFK, he's got obviously some outlandish ideas. He has some very good ideas. I mean, you're looking at America in totality. It's one of the fattest countries and unhealthiest countries. in the developed world, right? I mean, it just is. And by the way, we're in no position to lecture you over here either in the UK. So I'm not by any means taking the high moral ground, but it's a reality that America is a pretty unhealthy and fat country. Is there anything wrong?
Yeah, your fish and chips. Your fish and chips is a whole other
with mushy peas,
bath in oil right there.
But my point is, I always remember my favourite statistic when I was a newspaper editor, when George W. Bush became president. Under freedom of information, we got access to all the people he had sent to the death chamber, the execution list, when he was governor of Texas. And it was like 160 odd people. It was the greatest number of people executed by one governor in modern history in America. And as part of the freedom of information, we got access to what their last meal request was in the days when they used to make a last meal request and they could have whatever they wanted. 80-something% wanted a Big Mac and large fries. True.
Piers, first of all, that's creepy that you would do that, okay? That's just...
Well, no, it was actually, the whole point of it was this guy he killed a lot of people when he was governor, and he executed a lot of people, and it was quite informative about the kind of president he may be. That was the point. But the detail was fascinating about, and what it said to me was, yeah, America is a fast food country. I mean, it just is. So is there anything intrinsically wrong in principle with a bit of a disruptor like RFK going, you know what, we're just going to attack all this. We're going to try and make America a healthier place, even if, albeit, he has some pretty out there views about things like vaccines.
I have to see the details. I don't know where he will land in these things. Yeah, there are things he said previously, but not everything he said even agreed with itself.
Right.
So it's hard to predict where that's going to land when he takes office. But I can tell you that in the end, nature is the ultimate judge, jury, and executioner of what is objectively true in this world. And so you cannot rise to power, declare something that is true that has no scientific support. You can get away with it for a little while because you can drum up support, especially on social media, but that you're building a house of cards that will ultimately collapse. Or if you manage to shore up the house of cards with more things that are not objectively true, other countries will rise up and they will lead the world in ways that we once did. And I've come to realize that we are highly reactive rather than proactive as a country relative to our place in the rest of the world. And I fear that we may have to sink a little lower in our sort of scientific prowess before everyone wakes up and realizes we're not on the right track, yet other countries are.
Okay.
And because you and I, we're same age-ish, we lived the second half of the 20th century with the United States leading in practically every metric in science and technology.
Yeah.
And I just got very accustomed to that, frankly. Yeah, and I'd like to see that continue.
Yeah.
So once again, he just laid it out beautifully. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only go so far with lying, not believing in actual factual truth, not stuff that you just make up and like you said, get support on the internet. Who cares about support on the internet when it comes to facts? You know what I'm saying? And you can play that charade. You know, you can play smart as long as you can. But at some point, someone's going to call that shit out. And if you ain't about that life, then the whole world's going to see it. You see what I'm saying? So, once again, I love how he didn't straight attack RFK Jr. and say, hey, he's a fucking idiot. He did kind of say, hey, he kind of doesn't really make sense of what he's saying. You know, some hypocrisy going on there. But he made it really simple of, if it doesn't involve science, then you ain't gonna be worth shit later on. So once again, hey, bars right there, baby.
Yeah, and it's been overtaken by a lot of countries, a lot of Asian countries in particular. This brings me neatly actually to another part of that Bill Maher interview, which I really enjoyed. Love watching you on Bill Maher. But you had a little disagreement about this very hot potato issue about the science of trans athletes in women's sport. Let's take a look.
Engage with the idea.
Hold on. I don't know if we can watch that because, that's copyright infringement. So, hey, just go ahead. I'm pretty sure you guys seen that. If you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you've seen that back and forth with Neil, and plus I covered that video, so go ahead and watch that. But yeah,
issue for a long time, and I am surprised, given your earlier statement just now about the importance that we have a fact-based society where science is based on reality and everything else. Is there not? I would put it to you, Neil. There is a cold, hard reality about this whole trans issue, which is that I'm sure like you, I absolutely want all trans people to have utter equality and fairness in the way that I do and you do. Absolutely. I've never said anything different. However, not to the point where it erodes women's rights to fairness and equality. And there is clearly a growing unfairness and inequality from the issue of people who are born biologically male, identifying as women, and being allowed to compete against biological females, and then beginning increasingly to be quite dominant, to the extent where we saw people winning in the boxing in the Paris Olympics. We've seen the Footballer of the Year, Women's Footballer of the Year in the UK, voted by the BBC, Barbara Banda from Zambia, also has been banned for sex-related issues in terms of not being allowed to compete in previous tournaments. And so on and so on. The UN just had a big report which said that 900 medals around the world in competitive sport had been deprived from female athletes because trans athletes had won. So I put it to you that you're a scientist. It is clearly an indisputable scientific fact that biological males have a superior power and stamina and lung power and all these other things to biological females, because if they didn't, we would never separate the sexes in sport. The Olympics would be gender neutral, and they're not for a reason. Women wouldn't win anything. So when I hear you try and justify it or say that there's a scientific, and maybe there's not, maybe I'm misquoting you here, but there's some kind of scientific reason why it's fine, I'm like, hang on, Neil, you're Mr. Reality Check. You're Mr. Cold Hard Fact. Surely you can see that this is wrong without it actually having to be transphobic to say that.
Well, so you have me here live on your show. We don't have to comment on other shows. So let's just have this conversation.
Yeah.
So
hey, whoa, shots fired. Hey, damn. Hey, Neil, come back, slow down, baby. I know now he's getting riled up, but let's go ahead and continue.
I did my own study of the relative speed of men relative to women in Olympic sports, the world records, from the 100 meters to the 200 meters, the 400, right on up to the marathon. And what I noticed is in every event, on average, men were 10% faster than women. 10% faster. And in events that require strength, that percent was even higher. I forgot what my exact number, it might have been 50% stronger, okay? So across the board, that is the case. So that's not, there's no dispute there. That's
right.
Just objective truth. So now we have to ask, why do we watch sports at all, okay? And at Friday Night Lights, that's in the United States, that's high school football. Saturday, it's college football. Sunday, it's the NFL. Do you realize, of course, that the worst team ever in the NFL could wipe its ass with the best team ever in college? Why? Because every single player in the NFL was the best person in their college. And so there's no contest between these zones of athletic engagement. But we still like watching college. We don't watch college and say, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles could whip their ass, so let's not watch it. No, we like the equality of the contest and not knowing who would win. That's what makes sports fun. Okay, so if there's a wave of trans women who dominate the sport against other women, all those sports will become less interesting based on how we all watch sports. Even the Super Bowl here in the United States, if it's a blowout by halftime, nobody watches the second half.
Right.
We watch it for the equality of the contest. Okay, so
sounds like you agree
all
with
I'm
me
saying is, like you said, wait, I'm almost done. So what I see is sports is on the frontier of how to handle this frontier of people who are trans. It's on the frontier of how to resolve that. And I'm making this up now. Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios. I'm making this up, but imagine that if that were the case. That would be interesting. You get a hormone test, if you're in this range, and then you compete against other people with the same range of hormones.
That's ridiculous.
That's
Neil, that is ridiculous.
No, it's not. I'll tell you why it's
You're
not ridiculous.
You're going to give every
Hold on.
single
I used to
person in
wrestle.
sport a hormone test.
Hold on.
We do drug tests, we do steroid tests, and I'm pretty sure a whole litany amount of tests they have to do. They have to do physics or not physics, but physical fitness in the whole nine. Pierce, shh, just be quiet. Let the man speak, because you don't know nothing. You look like you haven't played a sport in your whole life, brother. So trust me, just be quiet, okay? Shh. Let him speak.
I used to wrestle, and wrestling, there are people who weigh, sorry, am I using pounds here, 125 pounds, right on up to 240 pounds. They don't wrestle each other. The entire sport separates people so that the contest is interesting.
Yeah.
And so the people of the same weight wrestle each other, and that is the contest.
But if Floyd Mayweather...
I don't know if that's how it will land.
Hang on, Neil. If Floyd Mayweather fought a woman boxer, a female woman boxer, who was the same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. And in fact, in the Paris Olympics, the winner of one of the women's boxing competitions, one of the
Piers,
females
that's
who
not what I was
took her
talking
on...
about.
But my point is that I just think that, if you don't mind me saying, I say this respectfully because I love you, but it just seems to me like you've dug yourself into a slight hole on this issue, and you're trying to get out of it. Now you're suggesting slightly mad theories, whereas the science to me is obvious. You've already given the best argument I've heard for why we separate the sexes.
Hold on. You misquoted me in this very interview. What I said was the idea of creating categories within a sport, splitting them in the example I gave, which I just made it up, like hormone ratios, is not fundamentally weird compared to dividing wrestlers by weight.
No,
because
it is.
the only
It is.
reason why you
I'm
do
gonna
this
respond.
is to make an interesting contest.
No, Neil, you're wrong.
And so you said Floyd Mayweather fight. Hold on.
You're
you
wrong.
said Floyd Mayweather.
You're not allowing for
and
the superior male biology when it comes to lung capacity, stamina, to body mass, to muscle mass, all those things. If you just take one criteria of hormones, you're not allowing all that. I'll give an example. Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously... hang on. I'm going to finish my point. Let me finish my point. Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympic male decathlon gold medal winner. Caitlyn is a big golf fan. And when she started playing golf after she transitioned, she was allowed to play off the women's tees, which are 50 yards further than the men's tees. And she quickly realized that she was still smashing it 300 yards down, and obviously was then beating all the women that she played. So she now plays back off the male tees because her biology is that of a man. And I feel that was the most honest way to deal with it. I also feel that if you want to have a separate category, have a trans category. Or have trans women compete against men, which is their biology. Isn't that the scientific way to resolve this?
I don't have a solution. What I started this section of the conversation by saying that how you handle trans athletes is a frontier in sports that does not yet have a full solution. And I made up an example, like maybe you could divide people by hormones. I don't know if that would work physiologically, but at the end of the day, we watch sporting events because they are competitively interesting. And so something's going to have to get resolved there, and I don't have that solution.
I do.
I do.
You have a trans category, or you have the trans women compete against biological men, which is what they are. And I completely respect trans rights.
That may be, that may be how it settles, but I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's a frontier without a current solution that everybody agrees to. That's all I'm telling you. And I started this by affirming, yes, men are faster and stronger than the average man is stronger and faster. Too. World-class men are faster and stronger than world-class women. Obviously, there's huge overlap when you come down the rest of the
look,
distribution.
the truth is,
But
if you had a gender-neutral Olympics, how many women, biological female women, would win gold medals if it was open to men and women? The answer is literally
there,
like
and I'm
they
trying
might
to stay
win one
above
or
this.
two.
I'm trying to stay above. You're creating this world that makes great clickbait.
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm not.
People
No.
to see comment on.
Hey, thank you, Piers, or not Piers, F Piers. Thank you, Neil deGrasse Tyson, for understanding, hey, sometimes you don't need to be in the trenches with everybody else. Neil has probably other things that he needs to be doing, needs to be worried about. He's not worried about, creating content for you and I. You know what I'm saying? He's just stating his opinion. And that's coming from a scientific background, and he's just telling you his opinion. He said it plenty of times. He doesn't have a solution. He doesn't think people need to do this and this. He just gave a quick idea and said, hey, take what you want, but like right now, there's no solution that everyone can agree on. And Pierce is like, no, because I know everything. It's like, no, if that was it, you wouldn't be on the internet. You'd be doing some amazing things if you knew it all. But let's continue.
Oh, I honestly,
Yes,
I'm throwing back at you the thing you throw back at other people, which is science. I'm telling you that it's the scientific reality, unless you say otherwise, and I don't think you do, because you've already explained that men have a superior speed of power.
I'm not saying otherwise. I started this.
The science is clear to me.
I started this by saying it.
But the science is clear, isn't it?
And I'm saying the solution isn't clear, even if the science is. And so that's all. We can debate what could work. I think the world has to figure it out, and maybe they'll figure it out one day. And maybe it is hormone ratios. I don't know. But if it is hormone ratios and we don't compete sexes, we compete by hormones, that's a whole other interesting future of athletics. By the way, every Olympics, I pause and think to myself, which of these events can and should not be separated by sex?
Which
there
ones?
are some already that
one?
are the case. And the equestrian. The equestrian does not separate men from
Equestrian
women.
and shooting, I think, also is another one where if they're sitting and shooting, there's no
That
reason.
I didn't know. Yeah. So I just figured there's some that would be the case. And we can start there and just work our way up. So yeah, it's a frontier. People are thinking about it. Top people are thinking about it. And I'm not going to be the one who'll have that solution.
Fair enough.
At the end, I know when you're watching sports, you want to watch people who have equivalent talent compete. Otherwise, it's not interesting.
Well, you want it to be fair and equal. That's why when there was
advertisers know this.
Yeah, but it's when you have the doping scandal in, say, cycling, because people are using drugs to cheat, it gives them an advantage. It's just wrong because it removes the basic premise of sport that you and I would love, which is it has to be fair and equal. And the moment you lose that,
unless you just allowed everyone to dope, then it would be fair and equal again.
Well, yeah,
there's a lot of ways that can slice. Yeah.
You know what? In cycling, that's pretty much what happened. I think I interviewed a guy once when I was at CNN who had been like number 42 in the world in cycling, and it turned out he may have been the best cyclist in the world because the other 41 were all cheats. So it may well have been the case. Let's turn to something less contentious. Actually, it may not be because it's your new book.
But can I slip something in? I just want to slip something in, if I may.
Yeah.
There's something I wanted to say about Elon that I didn't, that I forgot to.
Yeah.
So forgive me if I can slip this in.
Of course.
Not only has he made electric cars a daily conversation for people, whether or not you own one, you're certainly thinking about it. He is transforming access to space to become something affordable. And to do that requires something that he's been doing quite spectacularly, which is reusing booster parts. And, the boosters of his Falcon come back and they stick the landing, makes great video. He did the chopstick recovery of the booster for his larger
We're looking at it now.
vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
He posted
recovery.
this.
Yeah.
He posted this overnight. It's utterly staggering footage. I mean, the way this thing reconnects is unbelievable. What do you think when you see this?
No, I think if you consider that if you flew from New York to London on a 747 and they shoved it off the cliff and rolled out another one, your trip from New York to London would cost you $1 million.
Yeah.
So the fact that we reuse airplanes is a very important fact for aviation.
Yeah.
And the fact that now Elon is pioneering the reuse of rocket boosters will, in fact, be extremely important going forward for the affordable access to space. And I wanted to get that in there. Very important.
I get it. I think you and Elon
Beautiful.
probably agree about a lot more things than you disagree.
All right, guys. Once again, that was an amazing conversation. Once again, if you know Piers even just a little bit, or if that's your first time watching Piers, you can already see why people don't really like him that much. But once again, I just love hearing Neil deGrasse Tyson just speak factual and know when to hold back and say, this is my opinion and you can do what you want with it. And I think if people like that operated on a daily basis, we wouldn't be in this weird space that we're at least today. You know what I'm saying? So once again, if you guys, enjoy this kind of content, just let me know in the comments. Hey, thank you guys for watching. Once again, I highly appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch my content. If you guys want to support me even more, go ahead, become a member. Check out the perks that I set aside for you, such as early access, one-on-one conversations with myself, and even cool emojis you can use in the comment section. Once again, I highly appreciate the future members and you guys even taking the time to watch the content. And like always, let's have that conversation.